I first saw The Shining, I was probably in 5th grade, 6th grade. Saw it on VHS at a slumber party, and was utterly unprepared for it. Yep, and I was never the same. One of the most amazing things about the experience of watching Kubrick's film is how insane the Overlook Hotel is when you look at it from just the point of view of trying to figure out the layout of this building. It doesn't make any sense. It's hard to figure out where in space you are and where in time you are. It's one of the most effective and disorienting things about Kubrick's vision for the Overlook Hotel. It was really important for us to bring that back and to try to live in that same disconnection. And we love The Shining so much, we want to get it right.
Oh, this set's amazing, isn't it? Just breathtaking. Every time I walk in here, I'm just floored. It's like walking into your own memories.
Don't miss me! Hiding there!
It's really something.
The Kubrick estate has a long-standing relationship with Warner Brothers. They were aware and supportive of the fact that the movie was getting made.
Mark?
They've been generous with plans for the original Overlook that we adapted to our purposes.
That's the moment that you think, wow, is this real? Like, we're recreating the Overlook Hotel. And then the reality sets in of, we're having to build something in 6 weeks that Stanley Kubrick had more time to do.
We had to build some of these stages like Russian nesting dolls, and then the minute we were finished with one, we'd demolish it, sometimes too quickly.
This is for one day of shooting. All this.
It's a very fun Tetris game to see, well, where can we put this set? And our construction department and art department have all been fantastic in making everything work.
The primary sets from The Shining that we recreated, the Colorado Lounge, the Gold Room and the Gold Room Bar, the Red Bathroom, and then we have the hallway where the twins live. We have room 237 where Mrs. Massey dwells. We have the staff apartment where, you know, Jack Torrance hacked through the door. And then we have the hallways where little Danny Torrance rode his big wheel.
Something really special happened the first time we walked into the Overlook Hotel.
I just want to do the rest of the movie in here.
Being on set feels like an event. The excitement on set is palpable. Everyone is excited to be working on it, and it's a labor of love for everybody.
I think we need to get a tennis ball.
Yeah.
We need to do a little handball in here.
Yep.
We turned into kids.
Oh, hell.
And we were all, you know, riding around on the big wheel.
Yeah!
Like, we were kids. We were riding around that set like little Danny, giggling maniacally. For as much work as we have to do on a given day, we were giddy moving through those spaces. We were giddy lining up the shots. We were giddy looking at our frame and knowing that we were going to be able to capture these images. I felt the way I did when I was a kid and I picked up a VHS camera.
Oh.
They did an amazing job of bringing this to life. Completely remarkable.
Trevor!
There's a magic space to work in. It was fantastic. You could literally imagine Jack Nicholson sitting behind the typewriter over there. It was crazy.
So this is the Atler typewriter. This is the exact model used in The Shining. It's actually a working typewriter. And it's in great shape. We got really lucky. And then we had to create all the pages, of course, or for all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
It was clear to me from the beginning that there was no way to do this movie right without revisiting characters taken directly from the Kubrick universe.
It is very big shoes to fill. I think that Shelley Duvall's performance in that is the closest thing to a perfect performance in something.
It's about a continuity of character, not a continuity of actor.
Oh, hang on, Doc. I suppose as an actor I have two instincts. One is to interpret Dick as I see him, but I want to do justice to the character. And I want to do justice to Scatman Crothers' performance.
It seems to me you grew up fine, son, but you still owe a debt. Pay it.
And Roger, of course, played little Danny. He's the thing that connects The Shining and our story. Roger stepped into that role in a really effective way.
I am in love with that little boy. He is the sweetest.
Oh, whoops, really? What?
Literally, in between takes, he would lean over to me and be like, I love acting. And I'm like, me too.
This is one of the harder acting things to do, okay?
So what's the harder acting?
It was easier with them to see, yes, this is an actor who will remind me of the iconic performance while doing something that is their own. But there's something about Jack Nicholson in The Shining that is so iconic. It was always going to be controversial, no matter what we did.
Let's get to your acts.
Okay.
And let's play.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan calls me and says, I have a part for you, but I understand if you don't want to do it. And he said, I want you to play Jack Torrance. I said, well, are you sure you want to cast me in that role? He said, do you want to do it? I said, yes. He said, perhaps now we should discuss what we're going to do with your hairline. I said, okay, it's all right, Mike. I'm on board.
One of the things I love about what Kubrick did is Delbert Grady, a former caretaker who murdered his kids. He appears as a waiter who seems to have no memory of what he actually did. And you think about what happens to people when they die in the Overlook Hotel. They're staff now. Now we're not even talking about someone coming in to try to play Nicholson or to play the part the way Nicholson approached it. This is a whole other expression of Jack Torrance, and it's one that abides perfectly by the rules that Kubrick set out himself.
I think you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm just a bartender.
He's Lloyd, the barman, but he's also my dad. And that was very moving. It was a nice scene to play. It surprised me as we played it. I didn't expect it to sort of take us where it did.
On the house. Thanks, Dad.
And I felt very much like that little boy from The Shining. It's like the worst thing he could imagine is what he hears his dad saying to him.
And a family, a wife, a kid. Those mouths eat time. They eat your days on Earth. They gobble them up.
But it was quite moving. I found it quite upsetting when we played it.
Are you gonna take your medicine?
I'm not.
One of the other images that we wanted to come back to was, of course, the Grady girls.
Come play with us.
The actresses that Kubrick used had a very specific look. And so for us, it was really about trying not to take any liberties with their appearances and bring it back in a way that would make me, as a fan of The Shining, go, yes.
We're wearing these blue dresses with a bow and a little rose.
Even when they made that movie, that was period fabric. So we tried to get that fabric, couldn't get it. So we ended up with our art department printing the fabric. It was kind of painstaking to do that, but it's amazing when you see it.
We're going to be coming around to that in just a couple shots, but I wanted you guys to have time to practice and get ready.
And those poor girls had to stand just precisely so, had to speak just so and walk just so, and they really arrived wanting to channel that image and that feeling.
Seeing Mrs. Massey was super cool. They built an entire Miss Massey body for the actress.
The makeup takes a long time, like 5 hours to put it on, a couple hours to take it off. And it's standing, you can't sit. But to be a part of this, I would endure pretty much anything.
Pull the curtain back with a smile, hold a beat. Then stand and stop and hold a couple of beats.
All the necessary parts are covered with silicone rubber.
So she feels actually clothed, but it's more like a scuba diving suit, maybe a wetsuit, because she forgets that she sees herself and says, oh, I'm naked, but she's not.
Which led to some of the funniest moments I've ever had on a set, because Sally had absolutely no sense of nudity. So we would give her a robe, but it didn't matter, and she had no idea whether it was open or closed, so it was not uncommon to just see Mrs. Massey hanging out at Crafty, robe just wide open, without any sense of shame, because why should she? She wasn't naked. It just really looked that way.
I forget how hideous that I look. I'm walking around talking to everybody, and then I look in the mirror and I go, oh, whoa. I forgot. I am Sally.
I was like, let's see, take off the robe. Oh my God, it looks so good. I was
One of the things that was very exciting to me was that there are moments we actively flash back, almost direct recreations of moments from The Shining.
Nice and fast around the corner, nice and fast. Good, good.
And we tried very hard to do them just right, because this is one of the few times where we're directly quoting the first film.
We got to recreate that amazing tracking shot, that Steadicam shot that carries him through the hall and around the corner to 237.
This is one of the tricycles, and the trike hasn't been produced for probably the last 10, 15 years. So we got what was left, brought him in, and we recreated the trike basically from the ground up. But it came out beautiful. It's exact bike. I mean, even with the bell, it's right down to the T on it.
Not many people get to say this on a set. We're about to shoot a scene where Jack Torrance is chasing Danny with the axe through the halls of the Overlook. Danny! Danny boy!
Once you're in all the gear and you go on set, it's pretty amazing.
All right, team, here we go.
We recreated rubber axes, which looks like it's chrome. It looks like a polished chrome. This is actually a soft rubber, which looks really, really good. And then this is the Hero Metal axe. So these are the actual axes that we've been using, because you can see they're bloody from running around the hallways and stuff.
All right, sir. Same as before. We can go, I think, even further on that.
We got to recreate the axe coming through the bathroom door. Alex Esso in Shelley Duvall's exact mark.
I'm very excited. I have a piece of movie memorabilia history right here. A wooden shard of the door. I think I'm gonna have everyone sign this, actually. It's gonna be like my cast or something, so.
Tail sticks, tail sticks!
The hedge maze was Stanley Kubrick's invention. In the book, there were topiaries that chased and attacked, actually, a couple of the characters. But in The Shining, the movie, he had this incredible hedge maze that he placed outside of the hotel. We thought it would be really compelling for the audience to be back in that environment. We built massive walls, you know, it's 8 feet, 9 feet tall, and filled it all with fake snow.
And we're here for a really cool confrontation scene between Rose and Abra, and that turns out to all be happening inside Dan's mind.
Roll, please, rolling. And set, and action.
I think the challenge that I felt the most acutely was shared by everyone in our crew and everyone in the cast, which was we are continuing the cinematic language of Stanley Kubrick. We wanted to have the same Overlook Hotel. We wanted to have the same Room 237. The thing is, it's impossible to recreate those perfectly. It's just not possible. And in trying to do a perfect recreation, it becomes imitation. And what I wanted to do was homage Kubrick's work, to acknowledge it in a way that is reverent without just doing it again.
All right, I want to try to turn you around this way. Okay. And head off into this world.
In that respect, it was entirely unique and deeply stressful.
Wendy.
But also really exciting. You know, there was something really joyful about it as well.
Okay, and action.